This is Stephanie at High Tower Stitching. Hey everyone, have I got a smashing quilt for you today? Really, I've got the first block and you'd have to take it farther, but this is where we're going to go. We're going to start with this. This came from the American Patchwork Quilting Magazine 2021, real current. It's issue 169 for April, page 95. And you're going to love this. If you've never done half triangle squares, which you probably have, it's a great lesson in that. And the other thing, it involves flying geese. And it just makes a beautiful quilt. So stay tuned for materials and directions for making a block. If you look at the block, it's really big. Before you put it in your quilt, it's 16.5 inches square. And I call it sub blocks that it's made out of. And I want to show those to you right now. This corner of the block, I call that the half triangle square patch. And then the other one that we're going to do, here's the flying geese, and then another piece added to it. And those are repeated all the way around because there again is your corner with the white box, your flying geese, and on around. And there's your flying geese and your corners and around. And then right in the center you have this beautiful pinwheel, which is made with some of those half triangle squares. This is one of those practice projects that morphed from the first block, and I had enough material to make 6 blocks, but you can see that I had to add some little surprise in 2 corners, and that was the only color that I had that would fit was that little flowered piece down there. And then I added the white border and then the flower border around there, and it's ready to go on the sewing machine. What's fun about this, it only takes 2 colors. And what you have on mine, for this practice one that I'm showing you, is purple, and then I've got white. And these are the pieces that it's going to take to make a block. You're going to need 4 4-inch squares of purple. You're going to need 8 strips that are 2.5 by 3.5. And then this goes into the second block. You need 1 7.5-inch square and 4 2.5 by 6.5 strips. On the white, you need 4 4-inch squares, 4 2.5-inch squares, and then 4 more 4-inch squares. And this is the way it's going to look. We're going to pair up the purple 4-inch and the white 4-inch. The white 4-inch, you're going to take and draw a line, which is going to be the cutting line from corner to corner. You're going to come in and you're going to have 1/4 of an inch out, another line. But when you stitch, you're going to stitch to the inside of that. Make a scant 1/4 inch. And make sure that you're far enough away from the cut line, though, that you have enough fabric that's catching. Because we are going to square this up in a little bit to get it to be a 3.5-inch square that's really nice. Then here was the 3.5 pile, 2 by 3.5. Here's the 2-inch square, 2.5-inch squares. All right. And then here's the 7.5-inch square. And then here are the 4-inch squares. And here again, you're going to draw a line from corner to corner. And we're actually going to go ahead and draw 1/4 inch lines out there. And if you have one of those tools that's got 1/4 inch on each side, that'd be great to use. But there again, do a scant 1/4 inch. And then there's the last piece, which is the 2.5 by 6.5. All right. Hope you're following along. Everything's right there. If you've got this, you're ready to go. So let's start with a half triangle square, which I call a sub block. this is what I call the sub block. Here's where our half triangle square is going to be. Then here's a 2.5 by 3.5, a 2.5 by 3.5. Doesn't quite look proportional. And then the 2.5-inch white square, white and white. So first thing you want to do is sew, like we were talking about, a scant 1/4 inch. And you can see, if you can look very closely, you'll see that I have come in from there to do it. And then once I got that done, I went ahead and I cut up the line that went diagonally from corner to corner. And then I turned and pressed it. And when I pressed it with the dark towards the dark. All right. And this is larger than you want because you want a 3.5 inch. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do another demonstration of trimming down that big one into the 3.5 inch square. And the first thing you want to do is look at your ruler and see if you've got one that shows a 45 degree. And right here is my 45. It shoots off to the corner up there. I'm going to take that and I'm going to lay it. Mine's tilted right now so I can see it and you can see it. I'm going to lay that 45 degree on there. And I'm going to line up the edges at 3.5 and 3.5. Nice and neat. And you can see that looks pretty good. So, and you can see where I'm off. Well, this is nice because, you know, lots of times if you use an exact square size when you start, sometimes you don't have enough material. So if you go with a 4-inch block, you can cut it down when you get it. That caught. So let's push this up. I'm going to go back across. Now I'm going to go up and line up the top one. And I'm going to have these really pretty 3.5 inch squares. And there I have him. And I'll add him to my stack. Once you get that, then you want to take and you want to sew your 2.5 by 3.5s, one onto your half triangle square, and then you want to take another one of those purples, 2.5 by 3.5, and remember we had some 2.5 inch squares. That's where this comes on. I've sewn these two together, and I open my seams, but you can fold your seams the way you'd like to. And then the next step would be to fold this down, match the seam up, and then stitch that and press it. And you're going to make 4 of those. Now here's the second sub block, and this is the one with the flying geese in it. The first thing you want to do is you want to take your 7.5 inch square, and you've already marked your 4-inch squares, and you take and lay those down so they're touching and across. And then you're going to take and do another scant 1/4 inch. You can see that black line and one on this side. And then you're going to take and cut up that line. And then hang on to your other 2 pieces because you're going to need those. Once you have those cut, then you want to press it. And this time you want to press the dark color up. I tried it the other way, didn't like it at all, so I went back and pressed them. Then you're going to take one of those 4-inch squares that you had. You're going to carefully lay it on here like you like it. So I got it going from the corner up. This is going to be actually the part that makes your flying geese. All right, you're going to stitch your scant 1/4 inch on this side and on this side, and then you're going to take and cut it again down the center strip, and that will give you There they are. There they are. It's been cut. Now I'm going to move this one off. I usually take and press this just because I like it to lay flat. And then you're going to take and press this back. And you're going to have this great flying geese. There's only one other part that goes on the flying geese. We had a long strip of the purple, which was 2.5 by 6.5. I'm going to take that and I'm going to sew it on. Now, because we used, again, a little bigger piece and did scant 1/4 inches, this is what I decided to do because you can see it doesn't quite fit right in there. So just simply fold this one in half this way. Fold your other piece in half. Lay them together with that joined right there in the middle where the middle point would be, and stitch. And it's going to work because at the end you're going to take and you're going to trim off, or even now after you get it sewn, you're going to be able to trim off, line it up and trim off that edge on there. But this is just to make sure that you have a really nice flying geese in here with plenty of material. And the last piece is your pinwheel sub-block that goes in the center. You have 4 half triangle squares left. Pull those together, and then looking at the way they're set up, lay them out in this pinwheel. And then what I usually do is sew the top 2 pieces together, and then I sew the bottom 2 pieces together and press them open, and then lay this piece on top of that one, fold it up, and stitch across that line. And these are back at the 1/4 inch, so you get that. So then you get your basic block. It's going to have your 4 half triangle squares on the corners. You're going to have your flying geese in the center of each part, and make sure that you have the flying part going in towards the pinwheel on every section. And you're going to have your pinwheels sitting there in the center. So let's go back to the box for a minute, to our block. Now we're back looking at our square again, and see if this looks different to you. Here you have your half square triangles on the corner squares. And then you have on the side, you have your flying geese pointing in towards that beautiful pinwheel in the center. And these pieces are really nice size, and they're fun to work with, and this pattern is just shocking. Now, because I only had 6 blocks, I just put mine 2 by 6, and I'd like to show you the one that came from the magazine. In the magazine, you'll see that it looks different. That's because they set them up turned. And it's 13 blocks, and they've been turned, and it makes a beautiful pattern. And I'll include the corners and the pieces that you need for your setting blocks if you decide to do it that way. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. Thank you for watching. Any notes that I have will be added to the description, or if I've forgotten something. If this was helpful or fun, or you just want to make a comment, please do, and hit subscribe and like. Thank you.